going to 2014, you touched on it nicely. You touched on the difference of making your debut for Scotland at 21, which is still quite a young age. How did that feel when you first got into the camp and then you had the week build up? How was Adam Ash the person as that was going on?
Oh, I was pumped, absolutely buzzing. Like, I mean, got the call up. I was actually in New Zealand on a scholarship playing in Christchurch, and then got a phone call saying, "Can you come out to South Africa and meet the Scotland team? We're on the last leg of the tour. I think they've been in Canada and America and Argentina." So I went out, and I just thought, oh, maybe I'll get like 10 minutes off the bench, or probably won't be involved. And I was starting the game against Springboks, and yeah, I was nervous the whole week. Like, I was shitting myself, to say the least. Like, it was pretty nerve wracking, and you have all sorts of emotions going through your head, and it was just a cool experience. Like, I think I was just so excited and nervous and a whole host of emotions. But that day I would have jumped in front of a bus. I was that pumped up, full of emotion, and just like so proud, and like, everything that you'd been working towards had culminated that day. Like, all the effort, all the hard work, it was all for that time where you could stand up and play for your country. And that was that opportunity for me came in South Africa, playing in front of a full house at Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium against the Springboks. Now, we had probably a third or fourth string team out because all the non-Scottish club players couldn't play because the match was outside the international window. They'd also had a whole host of injuries, so that's why I had gotten an opportunity. And I think we ended up getting beat by about 40 odd, maybe even 50 points that day, because the Springboks were like fully charged, best squad they had, and they were just unreal that day. But I loved the game. I enjoyed it. It was a level of rugby that I'd never played before, and I came off the field feeling satisfied with how I'd done, which was like just really nice. Like, after all the fucking emotional stress that you go through in the build up to the game.
How are the boys in that situation? Because you get called, like you say, you're not even with the squad. You're in New Zealand, so you're on. Is that the kind of prestigious one that they do? I know they now send them to South Africa. For example, they sent two of the Selkirk boys, I think, down, or they sent them off to South Africa last week. Is that the same one? But that was in New Zealand.
Yeah, it was called the McPhail Scholarship, so
Mhm.
it was running for years. It was great. You go to the Crusaders or Canterbury Academy, and you train there. You get to jump in on sessions with the Crusaders. You play club rugby around Christchurch. We've got an amazing club competition there. And it was amazing. A lot of those guys that I played with out there still keep in touch with. Actually, about 6 weeks ago, went to Amsterdam to meet my mate that I played with out there when we were 20 years old. So it's brilliant.
That's class. I love that.
Touch with these guys. It's friends for life.
I love it. I think that's one of the best. I know it's like the old cliche of the rugby thing, but that's one of the best things about rugby is the people you do keep in touch with.
Yeah.
Because like there's so many cases of that around the world. I know I had former guest on this podcast actually, James O'Neill. He now plays for the Toronto Arrows.
Oh yeah, I know James.
Yeah. He's oh, of course you might play. He was drafted for LA, but then got traded back up to Toronto. But
yeah, he came to LA for maybe a week. We went on a couple of nights out, and he ended
loose
up.
cannon,
he went to Toronto, so we never seen each other again. But I played against him, had a chat to him after the game last season.
He's did he show you his front teeth trick? The fact that he's not got any.
Yeah, he never had any teeth in when he came on the night out. He'd just take his teeth out, and he was comfortable with it.
Oh, he was on an excursion. He was at Melrose for the first half of the season here. So, like, small world. He's now 40 minutes away from me, and we met through. He was actually did a school trip to Peebles, so I knew him through that, and it came around a small way. But like, he's like one of the loosest cannons ever. But that's like another great example. Like, you stay in touch with the weirdest people you never think you'll see again, and then like you say, like you just go to Amsterdam and just catch up.
I know.
But how's everybody in Canterbury? Because that must have been quite an emotion. So you're just turning 21. You've been sent to the other side of the world on a scholarship to play rugby like that. You're living the dream. How did New Zealand affect you? Like, that's a really laid back country. Like, everybody there is like sound. I don't think I met a person I disliked in New Zealand.
Yeah, no, it was brilliant. Like, it was amazing for me. Like, I had obviously played sevens and travelled around the world, but I'd never been away from my family for that long. That was like 3.5 months. So it's a little bit anxious, nervous about that, but it was brilliant. I stayed with a really nice family there. Had some really good players around who I was training with regularly. Richie Moanga, Scott Barrett, like guys like that who were part of the academy. And I think it was just a really cool experience to play with them and to train with them. I guess like at that point, we never knew they were going to go on and be All Blacks and do what they've done. But I think being out there gave me the confidence to know that I could come back and could push on here, given the fact that I had played rugby and knew what it was like to see what the top guys at that level were like at that point. So I got a lot of confidence out of it. But it was more so just a cool life experience, like going living in New Zealand, experiencing club rugby for what it is, in the changing sheds with the boys after the game, drinking beer, singing songs, and really immersing myself in the rugby culture of New Zealand, which is like, I'm sure has its own culture. There's nowhere else in the world that's probably like New Zealand rugby. Everybody loves it. It's just crazy. So that was an amazing life experience. I've not been back to New Zealand since then, meaning to get back. So I'm hoping that I'm going to get back soon.
That'll be class, and I'm sure it'll be like you never left as well. Like you'll walk into a changing room and all the boys will be like, where have you been?" As if you've just not been coming to the pitch on a Wednesday or a Saturday.
Yeah, I know. I still get the emails from Canterbury Uni Rugby Club, and I'll need to go back for a reunion one day.
That'll be class. You'll enjoy it. I pretty much guarantee you'll enjoy it. Back to the debut on the Scotland team, because that's a life changing moment in itself. How was the week for that when you joined up with the team late? Were the boys quite good at sort of getting around you and like trying to get you integrated into the group as quickly as possible?
Yeah, they were great. I knew a few of the lads that were there. Got to know more of them. Like they were all good. Like I just like I couldn't. I was just a young lad, but we were there and we arrived, and I maybe got there on the Saturday. Boys arrived on the Sunday. Building towards the game that week. Maybe Monday, Tuesday, I sort of had an inclination that I might have been starting. So I'm like already like getting like worked up and like got to get this done, like nervous and start fucking you're feeling all over the place. And then we're out for dinner on Tuesday night. And next thing, the boys are charging on the pints uh, in Port Elizabeth, and I'm like, "What's going on here? Like, we've got a big game on Saturday." I went home to bed. Just couldn't quite believe what was happening, but you know, it's it's tour and it'd been a long tour. It's the fourth week of that, so um, yeah, it was eye opening, all of it. But the guys were brilliant. They helped me sort of get up to speed. Like I had no idea of any of the calls. It was actually kind of thinking back now, miraculous that I'd managed to go out and play that day, given the fact that we had probably 3 or 4 training sessions to prepare for it. But yeah, you just get your head down and you try and do your best, I guess.
Mhm. And then how was the actual aim, like the time on the pitch? How was like the speed and the change and the difference? Like you said, you're playing against like a World Cup South African side. You said yourself like the boys from the Scotland teams were already away home, but South Africa were all guns blazing because they were on home turf. How was that? Like how was the speed? How was the power?
Yeah, no, I've never played a game like against guys that big and strong and physical, and like the speed of the game was just mental. Um, the way that I approached it was like just get your hands on the ball as many times as you can, and just get through as much work as you can. And if you do that, you can walk off and feel happy and feel satisfied. Um, and I managed to kind of go out and do that and try and impact the game and get myself involved. So I was there was times where I definitely probably got ragdolled on a tackle by a couple of big South African lads, but you know, it was a good learning experience and a day that you'll never forget, I guess. Like, first time standing up, singing the anthem, although it's not in your country, you're in front of a full house and what an experience. Really cool.
That's class. It sounds it's an emotion I could only ever dream of getting to experience. But like you say, even if it's not in your own country, like they're still putting on that, like you're still putting on that thistle. You're still looking at the jersey, and you're like, this is not a replica. This is not a store bought thing. This is I'm given this. I've earned this.
Yeah. Oh no, it makes it when you're playing away and you've got that many people in a stadium and there's not that many Scottish people, it feels even more, I think, potentially intense because you're it's a war. You're going out and you're going to go and play a game of rugby. It's a battle,
Mm-hmm.
and you're playing for your country, but there's only 50 of you there. It's like it's like that in some way. in a stadium full of people that don't want you to win, but you're playing for your country for your first time. Like it's a cool thing to have done. And obviously playing at Murrayfield is like an unbelievable experience as well. I don't know. You get guys that play 60, 80 caps. I only played, I think, with 7, but all those opportunities I got to stand and sing the national anthem at Murrayfield, it never wore off. It was always really cool. Maybe for some guys when they get to 50 caps, it does. I don't know. You'd have to ask them. But for me, it was an amazing experience doing it at home and away.
How does the second verse at Murrayfield feel? Because I get goosebumps when I'm stood in the cheap seats at the back. How does it feel when all the noise is directed at you on the pitch? Like, is it proper spine tingling?
Yeah, it's loud and it's class as well when the lights are off and people just have their cameras on or their phones and stuff. That's really cool. Yeah, no, it's loud. You can't really hear the people next to you sing. You just hear the noise coming from the crowd. It's pretty loud, and yeah, it's a special moment for sure.
Do you sing the anthem? Not maybe like. Do you sing it loud? I imagine you probably sing it a bit louder when you're away from home, actually, because you want to make sure it's heard. Because like you see the Italians, they go hell for leather, whichever country they're in, singing their anthem. But did you find there was a difference in the anthem between playing away and playing at home, or was it just?
You probably hear yourself singing it more away because there's less people, but when you're at home, the sound of your voice is just getting drowned out by everyone else singing. So that's probably the biggest difference. You always sing it loud. You always get into it. Some guys more than others. But yeah, it's epic. It's cool. Like it's definitely an experience that I had that I'll never forget.
That's class. Hey, thank you for listening to this Clips episode on YouTube. And then if you want to hear the whole podcast, you can find them on Apple or Spotify, as well as the full video version on this YouTube channel, alongside all the other great content we produce on a weekly basis. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you again on another Clips episode or in the full episode podcast. Tweet us, tag us, let us know what you thought. All the links are down in the description. It means the world that you guys come and support us, so thank you very much.